Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Today's topic, which we are inshallah going to discuss, is structural development of civilization. And when we talk of big things, usually a question is raised, what can I do? Can I do anything? I thought that while discussing about big projects, let us also discuss about something which is simpler and which we can do and which we are supposed to do. Rather, we must do. In this regard, we are going to discuss today with the objective that what I can do, not only that the family can do, the neighborhood can do, the society can do, but what I can do. And in this context, we will be discussing different levels of our actions, of course, within the family and in the society. But before that, I may relate here a story. There was a reception and I was the master of the ceremony. And it happened before myself in that situation. A Chief Justice of one higher court, I'm not naming which higher court, welcome to a reception another Chief Justice of another high court, saying, "It is my special privilege to welcome a judge who is honest." When he said this, I distinctly remember that I looked around. Since I was the master of the ceremony, I looked around. I wanted to note and record the emotions or the feelings or the reactions on the faces of those very honorable judges of the higher judiciary. But as far as I remember, I didn't find any distinct sign, as if nothing had happened. It was a normal statement which was made and assimilated, and the things proceeded further. So kindly keep this in mind. We'll end with this statement that it is my special privilege to welcome a judge who is honest. Civilization is like an inverted pyramid. It's not that it has a broader base and it goes to the peak. Its base is pointed just at one point. Its base is very small, but its top is widespread. For example, civilization grows like inverted pyramid from the family at the foot, a very tiny segment. You at the family, as a family, at the foot, and you are holding the umbrella of civilization, to the broad open umbrella at the top. So in the structure of civilization, in the construction of civilization, and the development of civilization, the approach is very simple. It starts with you. It starts with family. It is an inverted pyramid. Family lays the foundation at the foothill, and education architects the edifice. It is not automatic. If it would have been automatic, then there wouldn't have been the periods of jahalat, ignorance, dark ages, when there was no education. So education architects the edifice on the foundation which is provided by the family. But if the family does not provide its own foundation, then education can't do anything. This formula, these 2 points in the formula, develops a society in which people are aware of their rights and responsibilities. This is the aim. If there is a family and if there is education, and it does not create people who are not aware of the rights and responsibilities, then they are not going to build, they are not going to construct a civilization. There may be degrees, there may be schools, there may be colleges, even universities. We have a lot of them. But if we are not creating an edifice under which people are living who know their rights and responsibilities, if they don't know this, they can't construct the structure of civilization. We are talking of civilization. Now, in this respect, what can I do? When we say family lays the foundation, it means you lay the foundation. You are the family. Every member in the family is addressed here as you. When Adam alayhi salam was given a family, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him, Anta wa zawjuka, you, Anta, and your wife, you. And the responsibility was placed on his shoulders. So you lay the foundation. This is very important that we have to keep in mind. And then when we say education architects the edifice, it means your idea and endeavor has to architect. We can't leave it to anybody else. Has to be architectured and structured according to your ideas and endeavors. And there is another important point which arises from this, that this edifice has to be architectured into the society, into a people, into a culture. And it has to be your idea. It has to be your endeavor. Basis of inverted pyramid, as I said, it starts from a point, you, as a fan, then the family, then the institution, then the society, and then as the whole polity. You may call it Ummah, for example. Here, one thing very important, that when we proceed from you, Anta, Vazawjuka, we proceed from you and we go to the top, umbrella, where the umbrella goes on opening, and the umbrella opens up. In this process, in this architecture, it does not happen by sermons. It happens by example, by action. Lasting learning experiences are by observation, very little by sermons. The Prophet's example is there. The scriptures show that the prophets were selected on the job, practically, in the markets, how they behaved in their home, with their families, how they dealt with the partners, how they dealt with the customers, what were their dealings in their business. If they were honest, if they were truthful, the selection was made from those eligible candidates. And same as the example of child. Child learns by observation, not by sermons. It is by observation. Even the movements of the lips, if the child is not looking at you, he can't see, then there are learning problems. It is by observation. Roots of civilization, as I said, and I gave an example of Adam. Civilization developed its roots when man learned to live organized life. Before Adam, when he was upgraded, the Homo sapiens were there. They were living as hominids, Homo erectus, Homo habilis, but they were not organized. They were not organized as families. They were not organized as groups. They were not organized as society. The roots for the development or the construction of the society were laid, for the civilization were laid when the organized life started. And how it started, for example, Adam was told that now he has to live in a settlement. We'll come to that point also. In Jannah, Jannat is not a jungle. It is an organized architecture of agriculture. And the civilization also depends on the enculturation. There's no difference in the definition. So the civilization started, process of civilization started, it started taking roots when the man started the organized life. If the family life is not organized and people don't care, you have seen in your life many people, if they come late, if they don't pay attention to the family, if they don't care for the family, if they don't observe the rules within the family, if they drink, the children will also drink. If they don't have a regular life, a regulated life, an organized life, then that family is not going to play any part in the construction of a civilization. We are talking of civilization. Ascendance, when a civilization is growing, developing from culture to the higher stage, when it becomes civilization. Civilization is the advanced stage of cultural evolution. If the culture does not evolve, it becomes stagnant. For example, in the process of cultural evolution, legal system is one aspect. If the legal system stops evolving, as it happened particularly from the 10th century of Islam, we have seen that we remained stagnant and our civilization decayed. So civilization is the advanced stage of cultural evolution. The cultural evolution in the previous talk we have said that it is a dynamic concept. It has to keep moving. The day it stops, the decay starts. Which develops literature, sciences. If we stop the development of sciences, we will decay. If we stop the development of literature, we will decay. If we stop the philosophy, the critical thinking, we will decay. And that is also the case with architecture. All these things have to go together in this cultural evolution to ultimately attain the advanced stage of civilization. This is a very important point in the evolution of culture, which reaches its zenith, and that is civilization. When civilization achieves the advanced stage, then there is a tendency to concentrate power and control. And at that time, that civilization hangs in balance. It has to struggle in balance. If it cannot maintain the balance, then it will start coming down. It cannot stay there forever. If at the top, it cannot maintain its center of gravity. As you go higher, the science shows, the geometry shows, the calculations show, the higher you go, your center of gravity becomes vulnerable. So if you cannot maintain the balance at the tip of the center of gravity, then the civilization will start falling. And how Quran explains this? And do not mischief on earth after it has been set in order. We claimed that we have given a new order to the world. We have given human rights to the world. That is the point when we attain the zenith of the civilization. We reach the zenith of the civilization with all power, with all control. We were in a position to give the world order. And if at that point we indulge in creating mischief or we disturb the order, we are bound to go down. We are bound to lose the power at the tip of that center of gravity. This is a simple example. This is a simple principle which has been explained here. Don't create mischief at that point when you are in power and you are in control. And at that time, the responsibility is to maintain order. But if you indulge yourself in creating a mischief, in making wars, then the result is the history shows all along, whether it's ancient history or modern history, that the downfall is bound to come. Evolution of Islamic civilization. What was the model? Progress from evolution of human. Man was evolved, upgraded to evolution to humanity. It was not sufficient to create a man. The man had to be evolved, as the human had to be evolved to humanity. That is why from Homo sapiens, Adam had to be upgraded with human features, with human softwares. That was the attainment of humanity, with rationale, with feelings, as sapiens. And progress from organizing, the journey started with organizing. Progress from organizing to moderating and balancing society, ummatam wasta. Balancing and moderating civil society. That was the aim. If we are not moderating and balancing, and we reach the zenith, and at the zenith we are not moderating and balancing, we are bound to fail. And the history shows that. And it is before our eyes, even in our own experience in the modern history, that at that point, if the process of moderating experience and balancing experience is not there, then we are bound to fail, and we are failing. Evolution of Islamic civilization, how it was achieved. I've said this, but in other words, I'm trying to further clarify. Emergence of Islamic civilization emancipated humanity. They were enslaved, banned slavery, and evolved humanity by organizing the best moderating and balancing civil society. Any time if you see that any civilization is going to the extreme in one direction, losing order, disturbing order, making mischief, that civilization is bound to fail ultimately. The evolution of Islamic civilization, how? Why we failed, why we decayed, and why civilizations have decayed and are decaying. Its edifice was erected on moral foundation, best suited to man's nature, human dignity, equality. Equity is a separate subject, and unity of mankind, universalization. But here today I will talk only about one item, that is dignity, because that is most important, and it is here where we have failed, and it is here where most of the civilizations fail, when they don't care for the dignity of a human being. Civilization in its domain and its perspective manifests highest standards of human behavior. If the civilization is not manifesting the highest standard of civilization, of conduct, then again it is bound to fail. Mainly in human dignity they fail. Dignity in conduct, one's own conduct, and dignity in treatment of others. Treatment of friends and treatment of enemies. Treatment of majorities and treatment of minorities. One's own conduct and treatment with the others. Man's dignity is exhibited, it is manifested in this respect. And it is here where the civilizations, if they start failing, they finally decay. A standard of human behavior in this respect, then, is different in different civilizations. We have seen Mesopotamian civilization and Egyptian civilization side by side. We have seen the rules, Hammurabi's law. We discussed in, for example, in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, and the contemporary Egyptian civilization. There was difference in the treatment of law, treatment of the systems. Then how to differentiate standards of humane behavior within those systems? What is the humane behavior in those civilizations? We say that they differ. Standards of human behaviors basically depend upon how a society, for example, recognizes dignity of humans. Mesopotamians recognized dignity in a different way, and Egyptians treated in a different way, although there are other parameters also. But I am concentrating on dignity. I am taking this one aspect only. For example, how the dignity is conceived. What is the concept of dignity? For example, in the closed societies, woman was and it continues to remain in these societies even today the object of property. Woman is an object as a property, and it is object of honor killing. They kill woman for the sake of honor. They call it honor. Whether the dignity is a personal honor or it is a family honor, it is a tribal affiliation, they give dignity due to the family affiliation, or they recognize dignity as a human aspect. And it goes even down. Today we are living in a tribal world. There's dignity because of citizenship. There was dignity because of tribal affiliation, not because of human being. There's dignity of a passport. There's dignity of ID card. Then the national allegiance, citizenship, and human attitude. Dignity covers all these aspects, that what is your concept about dignity, how you treat others in this respect, and how you conduct yourself in this respect. Where dignity reflects in your personal conduct, and how dignity reflects in the treatment of others, whether enemies or friends, while dealing with human beings. In broader sense, civilization presents contrast to tribal society. But really, let us we should examine that does it present a contrast? When the dignity goes to the citizenship, then how it contrasts to the tribal society? In a tribe, the dignity goes with the tribal affiliation, and so on. Civilizations are interlinked, influencing each other and transmitting legacy and heritage side by side at the same time. It's not that the one civilization closes its shop, demolishes it, and next day the next civilization comes and opens a new shop and builds this new structure. No, the competitors and sharers, they go together. It is here where one has to understand that when the other civilizations are interlinked, they are influencing each other, and when they are rising in competition, and in this competition, another competitor has come up. Now there was one power, now there are two. Whether to go for conflict or go for partnership, go for sharing, go for peaceful coexistence. This can come only when we understand this formula, that the civilizations are interlinked, they influence each other, they leave the legacy, they share the heritage, and they at the same time remain competitors and sharers. This formula has to be understood. Otherwise, if you go only for conflict, then there will be consequences to the conflict. Now, the complexity of inverted pyramid, as I started in the beginning, is very complex. From foundation to facade, civilization is very complex, for example, because of so many factors. But here, As you have seen, we are concentrating on family and education. Although style of governance is also extremely important, it's essential. There are other factors also, they are very important, but because of the shortage of time, we are only concerned with, we are emphasizing two factors, family and the education. In brief, if we can say, civilization presents organized settlements. Adam was asked now to settle down. Jannat is an organized settlement, social structures. There was a social structure given, social structure, although it was a society of two persons, yet a societal structure was given to Adam. The address was made to Adam. Responsibility was placed on his shoulders. His rights were elaborated. His responsibilities were elaborated. And there was a ruling hierarchy by implication. Wali, guardian. Civilization at the root presents these principles. And these principles go down into the family. There are other characteristics also. As I say, our topic is, I've limited it, otherwise it's a very wide topic. There are other characteristics also which are very important, but we are not going into those details today. The rock foundation, that is the family. And architecture is provided by the education. Bit by bit, it weaves, it fabricates. The major means in this entire system, in this entire work, is provided by the soft material, not by the concrete, not by the steel. It is not in the steel frame. It is in the frame of a soft material. It is in the frame of a software, Ruh, that is called Ruh. When it was Nafakh, these things are provided in the software. And it is here in the software that the character builds as integrity, incorporated as integrity. And this works in the family. It is here in the family which education uses this software, this soft material. The civilization builds up with soft material. The hardware comes afterwards. Character integrity, in the example of the honest judge, which I mentioned at the beginning, the phrase honest judge is a misnomer. It's totally wrong. When character doesn't need to be defined and it doesn't need to be distinguished as good character, when character doesn't need to be defined as good character, but when character is understood to automatically mean good character, inherently, it means it is integral to the individual personality as an integrity. At that level, honesty becomes integrity. And honesty becomes integrity when it is integral to the personal conduct and it is part of the character. Saying separately that he has a good character, what do we imply? We imply that he may not have a good character, but when we qualify, when we emphasize, when we clarify that he's a good character, then we mean that he's a good character. Otherwise, it is in the meaning of the character that it should be good. It should be inherently good. And honesty should be integral. It should be in the character. But when we have to qualify separately, it means he's not honest. It means he is not, he doesn't have integrity. If character needs to be defined as good character, it means that character inherently is not good. That is why there has to be an add-on. But it has to be qualified as good with an add-on or attachment because of not being integral as integrity. And this is the situation today. That in every case we have to qualify. When we say that judge, doesn't it mean that judge has to be honest? He should be honest. The judge doesn't carry the meaning of honest, but when we have to qualify that he's an honest judge, it means that the judiciary is not honest. And perhaps he is the one only who is being called honest judge. The rest of the judiciary is not. Otherwise, the very word judge should convey the same meaning, that integrally, in his integrity, in his meaning as a judge, he is honest. I think when the Chief Justice had welcomed another Chief Justice with these words, it was a slur, it was an insult, but nobody felt it. Everybody seemed to be happy with that. Character building refers to developing norms by interactions. This is a matter of soft material, software that mutually strengthen each other. Norms. Then these norms conjointly influence families and groups, institutions and society all together. These norms. Norms is software. Quran is a software. It's an app. And socialization, the socialization of the child into the family, into the society, into the culture starts with norms that aim at character building. But here, you as family, we have to understand how much we are inculcating into the character of the child. We are telling lies, and the child is learning by observance, by observation. He is learning lies. He can't have integrity. Impossible. Not possible at all. Very first step of socialization goes wrong. Sorry. Culture, this slide is from the previous presentations. Culture is like growing the people like an agriculture, cultivating them, growing them, nurturing them into the land, into the territory, into the society. We enculture our children in a foreign culture, in foreign society, in foreign territory, in foreign norms, in different norms, and then we complain that they have gone astray. It can't be an extraneous enculturation. This also we had discussed some time back, that how step by step it goes on. It is the process of internalization of character. In human being was is internalized when the process of nafakha, installation of ruh, command, software takes place. It is internalization and interiorization. Culture of integrity, how it takes place when integrity becomes integral part of collective conduct. Before this we were talking of individual. Now we are talking of the collective conduct. Collective conduct, when it is identified with integrity, it becomes part of culture. It is identified as culture. That these people as Muslims, these people as Ummatam Wasata, they will not violate the order. They will not tell lies. They will not go wrong. But in the story which we have discussed, honesty is not inherently integral part of culture of that particular institution. It is a branch of governance. That is why today we find that institution has rampantly become corrupt, where we have to define that the judge is honest. If you have to tell your child that your father is an honest person, but by observation he cannot display it. He cannot display it in his conduct in the child and the family. Then it means there is something wrong. The rock foundation of civilization. In that case, I said family, and family means you, Adam. Now here it's only, maybe there are repetitions, but for the sake of emphasis, I'm going to repeat certain things so that we can re-remember. We can remember and re-remember. Family is the foundational basic building block of society. Family plays an culturing role in the development of civilization. This is all we have discussed. I'm just summarizing now towards conclusion. Family bears primary responsibility of socialization. We have discussed it. In instilling the norms of the society and education of children. We have to be very careful with that. Education builds the edifice. Family is ideally the foundational source for the child. It is the first contact of the child. If there is something wrong in that first contact, the mother and father are fighting all the time. Then you can understand how the bipolarity takes place and how the children can go astray. Particularly during earlier phase of life, children rely on parents and family for their safety and needs. Are we careful? Do our children feel safe? Family provides love, support of a construction and a construction of principles. Family members coach each other. Are we coaching each other? This is just for recalling. A responsible, effective nurturance of family. This is just a checklist. You, as the responsible person, check this list. When the cases come to me in counseling, most of these items are missing in the checklist when I discuss with them. Maintenance is the responsibility of father. Is he providing the physical maintenance, other maintenance, care, additional, or he has left it to the mother, or mother has left it to the father? Additional arrangements for additions of new members. Quran tells that you must make arrangements and plan for the children which are coming into your family. Socialization, enculturation, social management, supply, distribution, all these things, these are part of home economics. Home economics is a subject. Have we ever read this subject? If not in the college, even at home, this is a checklist just to see whether we have done that. Children positively develop when parents actively promote their growth consciously. There has to be a conscious effort. And parents influence child's basic value, worldview, and their attitudes. And that depends upon the strong relationship. If there's no strong relationship between the child and the parent, then again, this process will fail. It will not take place. And this I've already mentioned that in the process of education, the children learn by observation. Main purpose of education is to educate individuals within society. Then education augments family. If the family is broken, education can't play its role. It works in a solid family. Islam presents sufficiently broad guidelines of do's and don'ts, which Ghazali terms as fazail and razail, virtues and vices. These can make or mar character, and we have to see how it works in our family. According to Ghazali, wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice are cardinal virtues. Have we ever given thought to this? I'm going to make it simpler as I conclude. Only people of character, whatever we have discussed, only people of character in a family can build civilization. If the people have no character, they cannot build a civilization. And one of the important points is lying is at the root that negates character. Liars have no character and liars cannot build civilization. Qawmul Qazibin cannot build civilization. The people of liars cannot build the civilization. In matters of human relationship, the Prophet, peace be upon him, he emphasized again and again, again and again. Now recall the example of an honest judge. If we have all the time to swear in the family, if the husband had to swear to the wife and the wife has to swear to the husband to prove their loyalty, prove their gentleness, prove that they are not cheating, they are not doing wrong, then it means they are not honest. If they have to qualify their personality, their character, that no, I am bearing a good character, I'm an honest father, I'm an honest husband. If they have to swear and all the time they have to add the qualifications, then they are not. What can you do? You can do even more. This is not the end, and this is not the complete list. I've just tried to emphasize that civilization cannot be built without family, and family cannot make any contribution to the civilization if you are not contributing to this process in which you have to use education as a tool to build that edifice. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzat amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Now I stop here, and if there are any questions, kindly unmute yourself and you may kindly participate in the discussion and make your contributions.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
I have a little bit of a worry or concern about I think a lot of things. Let me enumerate. The civilization probably was established and was good, and then it was not to be disturbed. That's what I understand from one. Secondly, if it was disturbed, how it has been disturbed, how much of the civilization and the character and the culture, everything has been disturbed. B, we keep on probably identifying the faults in what we have got, the faults in the civilization, culture, society, everything, and the character. But I think we need to probably define how bad it is, and how to correct that badness. Maybe 5%, maybe 95%, I don't know. So how do you define that? I mean, we are probably bad, all of us, maybe few of us, maybe a good majority of us. But where is the fault, A, and how much is the fault, B, and how to correct it, C? I think this is what we definitely make sure that we do make some corrections in our lives. You have mentioned, of course, in a generic way, but that's far too generic, really. And we need to identify really the point of issues where the problems are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very thankful to you for making a contribution and also a question, very important. I had mentioned we are discussing civilizations, not just a small group, our group or any other group. And I gave the example of other civilization, like Egyptian civilization, Mesopotamian civilization, or any other civilization. They reached their zenith. And at the zenith, they had power and they have control. These are two major important aspects which we have to take into consideration. Any civilization which has reached the zenith, at the time they were at the zenith of power and they were at the zenith of their control. They could manipulate things at global level. At that point, when they lost balance, they didn't remain the balancing and moderating civil societies. It is here, as you asked, where they committed the wrong. It is here that they erred and they went wrong. They committed excesses. Pharaoh committed excesses. They come excesses on the people, excesses in the territories. They created wars. They created chaos. That is why it was said that after the order has been established and you can issue an order, you can issue a new order, you can establish a new order. a global order. At that time, be careful. Don't create mischief. Don't create any imbalance. This is the point where, when we say, when the civilizations, when they reach the zenith and they fail and they come down. We are talking of this civilization, not as group. And so far as groups are concerned, individuals are concerned, I concentrated this and brought it down to an individual, that you have to contribute. It means I have to contribute. The family has to contribute. If we cannot do more, at least we can start from our own self. If every one of us today decides certain important, specific, fundamental steps which have to be taken in this direction, then if everybody, if it proliferates, if everybody starts doing that, then maybe drop by drop we make an ocean.
I have a question.
Thank you, sir.
When you say that civilization is like an inverted pyramid and at the bottom is the family, the question is, can the Muslims in America and the West become a civilization when their families are in real crisis? Marriages are failing by some estimates by more than 50%, and the families are not stable and growing and strong to make a civilization. So will the Muslims in America and the West remain like a scattered tribe and not become a civilization?
A civilization, when loses the foundation, it has always been destroyed. The history shows that. I'm not saying this in the religious sense, but the history shows that. And even today, wherever it is happening, in these civilizations, which are the civilizations, the modern civilizations of today, when we have lost this foundation, the rock foundation, the basis, which gives the foothill, which forms the foothill on which the edifice has to be built, then they are in danger. And along with this, there are other dangers also, that is ununiversalization. Ununiversalization is that we are thinking in terms of color. We are thinking in terms of divisibility. Instead of finding unity in diversity, we are finding diversity in unity. All these are the dangers for the civilization. And it is at the zenith, when your civilization reaches the zenith and it cannot maintain a balance between colors, between classes, between people, between the minorities and majorities, then there has to going to be chaos. It is very
Follow-up
important.
question. Why are the marriages failing and why the families are in crisis? Does Islam not produce such values as to build strong character, or the outside influence of, let's say, Western societies can mold the character and make it weaker and not strengthen the society?
I think I've been repeating that socialization, enculturation, and civilization has to take place within the society. Within the society. Today, our generations are not being socialized, not being encultured in the society, in our society. They are being encultured in other societies where they are not aware, not even aware of the norms. It is the norms, the software that matters. And they don't even know the software. There are many people, for example, in my personal experience here, when they come grown up, 40 years of age, 30 years of age, they have not yet opened Quran anytime. They have not seen Quran and they don't know the norms. They don't know the norms. What are the responsibilities as a good human being, according to the faith to which they belong. They don't know. What are the responsibilities as a husband and as wife? They don't know. In that society, of that society. Here the marriages are failing because marriages are not being contracted for creating a family. Here the marriages are being created, are being contracted just for personal reasons, for many reasons which are mostly personal.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
I was struck with the topic where the phrase is, what can I do? Or can I do anything? In other words, your topic is asking me what I'm supposed to do to make things better. And I think one of the first few slides, you said that in a generalized, civilized society, every citizen and every family should be conscious of their duties and responsibilities for their being human beings. And I think you are describing a definition of a civilized society, which is very rare to see in modern world today. So there's a situation here which I want to describe to you, of which comes first, the chicken or the egg. In theory, the center of gravity of a civilized society, as you were talking about, lies in the worldview of bringing the change first within myself, the change that I wish to see in this world. And we all agree with that. However, when the time comes to put it in action, instead of bringing the desired change first within ourselves, we start looking and rationalizing for preconditions like demanding to fulfill human rights, democracy, justice, and correct laws. Of course, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But let us take the example of the Prophet, peace be upon him. We find that the emphasis in his character and his actions has always been in a sequence of correct faith, taqwa, integrity, love, empathy, being honest and fair and just to each other, and compassion, and no double standards, no what you call hypocrisy. If we choose a later path of Prophet, usually you get scoffed, laughed at, or it is too idealistic and not pragmatic. My question to you is, what algorithm would you suggest? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your very valuable comments, elaboration, and in fact, addition. I'm very thankful to you. I think I will not make any addition to what you have said, but at the end, what you raised as a question, in that respect, I'll submit that you have talked about the algorithm or the route which we can adopt in this respect. I will take you to the slide here, that is the structural development of civilization. As you said, that we have to start with myself. Here, instead of all the time saying I said that here I'm pointing out that everyone as in the society as you. It pertains to everyone in the society as you. And at one place I pointed out that you means family. In one slide I had shown it. I think it will take me time if I again find it out and search for it, that you means a family. Usually a question is raised that we are talking of big things, as in the beginning I said, that what is civilization, how the civilization progresses, but then how can we start? As you have now raised a very, very important question, how we can, what algorithm we should follow? So as an algorithm or as a route, I have pointed out that we have to start with me. We have to start with we have to start with you. And you here means the family block, the first block, the fundamental block. And this is the algorithm that we have to start with. The society has to start with I try to start with me. I have to start, I have to correct myself. I have to correct my family. I have to correct my governance, my area of influence where I'm in. I have the responsibility, and then it is how we can build the edifice of the society with education.
I see the slide which you are showing just now, and there is an algorithm here. And I noticed that society / quality.
Yeah.
But that is the last point you are in your sequence. Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct, because I am starting with the small unit where I can do something. What I can do, I have raised the question, what I can do or what you can do. So that is the starting point. Why it is the starting point? In another slide in the beginning, I had shown this, that civilization grows like inverted pyramid.
Correct.
From the family at the foot and to the broad open umbrella at the top. It is not like the Egyptian pyramid that the base is broad and it goes to it tapers to the top. But it is an inverted pyramid. It starts with a small single individual, Adam.
Correct.
Family.
So
myself.
really,
I have to correct myself. And then I can
so instead of talking about democracy and politics first, we should start first with ourselves as a family.
Yes, sir.
Correct. Thank you.
Yes.
You answer my question.
Yeah. So in this talk, I had pointed out and concentrated my effort to the point where we can make a contribution. When we talk of civilization, what can I do? People ultimately ask, what can I do? I can't make any contribution to the civilization. But yes, if I start with myself in this manner, and I start with my children, with my family, with the area of my governance, then we can go on building.
Thank you.
All together.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum, Justice Zadu. I'm having actually a problem in my mind about saying the family and civilization. Family cannot form a civilization because by definition, civilization is refer to a complex society. And therefore it includes a system of government and then, urban development, technology, everything that falls into it, but the family by itself really is the family role to me is what, as the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, who said ad-din al-nasiha, and he said to whom, and that means the religion is an advice. It basically inviting people to what is right and working to prevent, the harm, which you're talking about the morality and then, and basically injustice and so on. So bringing the family in, it probably limit the complexity of the term civilization. That's my point. Civilization is far more than family. It is far more than a certain community. And therefore, we cannot say, for example, when the people in Mecca have a civilization, because it wasn't a complex society. Even the Prophet ﷺ, when he was in Medina, it wasn't an Islamic civilization because it wasn't a complex society. All of the system hasn't been developed yet. Technology hasn't been developed and so on. It's only when you get a larger system. So that is one comment, the definition. You also raised, I think Ibn Khaldun actually also said, because regarding the fall of civilization, he said obviously civilization has a life cycle like a human being, but injustice against the property right is the start of the ruining the civilization. You call it morality and so on. But you were a little bit uncomfortable when the justice or a chief justice with defining another justice as he is an honest judge. You said, people were not annoyed by it. I think it is still, are we taking too much? Because when Allah subhanahu talk about the Prophet sallallahu say, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٌ عَظِيمٍ, that you have the exalted character. What does it mean? Does it mean that the Prophet didn't have a character and then Allah defining him as have a character? Or a prophet in general would not have a character and the Prophet sallallahu Muhammad sallallahu is unique among this? Are you being too sensitive here when he says, it's an honest judge?
Thank you very much. Two important questions. The first one, that civilization is complex. It was in my slide number 21, that from foundation to facade, civilization is very complex. There are many factors. In another slide I'd shown, there are many characteristics. But I had pointed out that I'm here limiting my discussion to family and education. This is one point. It is complex. Governance is included, style of governance already there. Now, why education and family? That I said in the beginning that I am starting with family because family is the building block. It is the foundation, rock foundation. It is the building block. In one of the letters, Bill Clinton, when he was president, he wrote to the heads of Muslim states that the model of Muslim family provides a very good model for civilizations, for a society. So it is recognized, it is 100% agreed in the world that family is the foundational building block of civilization. And there are no two opinions about it. Number two, yes, it is complex. It is very complex. But here, for the sake of discussion, in order to limit it, I had made it limited it to family and education, which we can do, as I can do, as you can do, as he can do, as she can do. And then the next question, honest judge. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you are on khuluqun azim, he tells the Prophet, he is telling a person as you, as a pronoun. Here, the Chief Justice were talking about a designation, an office, a judge. He didn't say that you are honest, or he is honest, or she is honest. He said the judge, he is an honest judge of a higher court, of a superior judiciary. Then, if the judge of a superior court needs a certificate that he is an honest judge, then I think the entire judiciary is corrupt. That is why there is a certificate. I can recall now, when I was a student in government pilot school, Lakana, I was a student at the time, and then a dispute arose between a teacher and the headmaster, that the headmaster refused to sign a certificate for a person, for the teacher, or maybe it was for a student particularly perhaps, that he bears good moral character. The headmaster was of the view that it is redundant to add the word good because the meaning of character is not such. Now I am issuing this certificate from my school and it has such a stature, it is well recognized, and I will not sign this certificate. If you want to write good character, then you issue the certificate and I will not issue the certificate. It happened at that time. And that is why perhaps it was in my mind that when it happened before me, when I was a judge, I felt uncomfortable that today a judge as a designation, not as a person in a pronoun as you, he is to be qualified as honest judge. And I think it was
That's a good point.
Thank you. Is there any other question?
Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum.
I'm just making a comment that you do give a lot of importance to family structure, whether that leads to civilization or not, but it does produce good children. And also, along with that is character building. And yet, there are kids that do not turn out to be really good like you would expect. And then the question is, where did I go wrong? And a lot of people ask that, and there are good families. and they think they have brought good children. And now, that was in our era. But now when you see what's going on now, the families are not as coordinated and together as they used to be. And then they expect the teachers to teach what they were supposed to teach. And I think maybe it may be because of the way we are living here. Both the parents are working, so the children don't get the attention. So we are not like a family as we used to be. So I think the generation that's coming out is really, although I think one of our brothers mentioned about families, divorces and all that, marriage is not working. But I think it's the role of parents that is now lacking now in this generation that I view. So I'm glad you give emphasis to family and also character building, which I always promote myself. And how the turn out is, it's really, it's from God also, because, your family members, some of them are angels and some of them are not.
Thank you very much, sister. It's very, very, I think, crucial comment that you have made. It's very important. In one of my slides here in 41, I had submitted that education augments family effort. It cannot replace the family. The teacher cannot replace the parents. This is what I mean from this slide. We have outsourced education to the school, to the teacher. And if we leave it to the teacher or the school, then the child is not being socialized and encultured into the family and not into the society, not into the ummatan wasatan, not into the ummah, not into the norms of this ummah, not into the norms or the character which is required to be built. This is very, I think, important point which you have raised, that the parents have to be very careful. And I had shown a checklist. I had given, I may go back to this, that when I asked during the course of counseling, I find that most of the parents, they fail on this checklist. They have outsourced the parenting, the parental role. The mother has given, has outsourced to the father, or the father has outsourced to the mother, or they both have outsourced it to someone else, to the babysitter. Physical maintenance, it is not just maintenance in the legal sense. Legal maintenance is something different, economic maintenance, financial maintenance, but here it is physical maintenance. It's not just, we are not dealing with concrete or steel, we are dealing with a human being, a child, a baby who has feelings. So physical maintenance would mean maintenance in all respects of a living being. Are we maintaining the child like that? No. And are we taking care like that? No. And when the child has to come, are we making arrangements? Or when the child has to, and our son or daughter has to get married, a new family member is coming, additional arrangements for the addition of new members? No. And socialization of children into the society. We are we are doing the socialization of children in the streets as urchins. This is the difference. I'm not talking only of society here. I'm talking of globally. I'm talking about all our different models of society around the world. And enculturation of new members. A new member has been added to the family. He has or she has born, or new member has come as a daughter-in-law or a son-in-law. Enculturation. And then there are conflicts of culture. People still carry the cultural baggage from back home. And then the social management of members. This is an important aspect of our managing the family. We don't know the science of management of family. Social management of members. And son is coming late at night. This is part of social management of the family. But we don't know. We are not trained in that. We don't train ourselves. We don't train ourselves in the home economics, supply, distribution, services, and consumption. It is going randomly. We don't have any home economics. We don't have any home budgeting. We don't have any home management training. We are failing in all these respects. So you have raised very fundamental questions. These are very important. Thank you very much for raising these questions.
I would like to underline one aspect of family phrase, that family is the nucleus of civilization. This is not just unique in Islamic teaching, Quran and Sunnah, but it is also a part and parcel of the Western world philosophy. In fact, when we go back 2,000 years back, more than that, Aristotle said that the family is the nucleus of civilization and the basic social unit of society. And he wrote that the family is nature's established association for the supply of mankind's everyday wants. And this concept of family as unit is so important that now when we define what is civilized society, the history has taught us that technology advancement alone does not define a civilized society. Unless and until there is a culture of compassion, empathy, brotherhood, and justice. So regardless, how the civilized society may be defined by any, but if you look in the sociology literature also, you find that we define the way you have expressed. I just wanted to add to that.
Thank you very much for this addition, clarification and further elaboration. This family is the nucleus, it is the foundation block. And I have used the word foundation block in other place, but in the beginning, in slide number 5, I had shown it that it is at the foot hill or the rock foundation. Family is at the foot. And then the umbrella opens up. If there is no foot, if there is no foothill, there is no foundation, there is no nucleus, the umbrella will not open.
And also, in nature, if you see into the biological aspects of life, you'll find that we have a biological concept of family. Yes. And if you go into, say, elephants walking around, you find the children of the mother, they go together. They're not mixed with each other. So it is a part of this inheritance we have received, animal intelligence, which also reflect and reinforce what you're talking about.
Thank you very much for even more on an elaboration. And I had started my discussion that Adam was given the charter. When he was given the charter, at that time, he was given a charter in a settlement. Jannat is a settlement. He was given a charter in the settlement as a family. Anta wa zawjuk. I quoted that. Anta wa zawjuk. You and your wife. Otherwise, the model, if the model was not the family, then Adam could have been told, Adam, now go and start preaching to other human beings, the Homo sapiens. But he was asked to start with the nucleus, that is Anta wa zawjuk, your family. This is the, at the foothill of the foundation, where the umbrella, stands. So thank you very much for all these contributions.
Just one comment, Justice Shazado, because I think you put a lot of pressure on the family, and when a child fails, you said, okay, the family might not have done this and this and this. Actually, even if the family does everything, still the child can come to be a better child. Yeah. So the responsibility on the child, and maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the story of Adam's son, or sort of Noah's son, is just to tell us, okay, you can do everything you can as a father with a family, but in the same time, you really cannot guarantee anything. You just do your best, and that's it, and that's so.
Any other question? Any other comment? for my education. I'm learning a lot.
Justice Shahzadu.
Thank you.
What always bothers me, the fact that, at this age, we are listening to you, and the younger people don't even care to listen to you. So in a way, with due respect, in a way, you're talking to the choir. But it does help in the sense that if we have made a mistake now, it's being pointed out to us. And I also mentioned that, Brother Mamdou said something like, don't blame yourself if the kids don't turn out the way you expect them and you've given them the most. And I said, you're not all the kids are angels. So I already made that comment. But I still, it just bothers me that the generation that is growing up is not growing up like the way we were, we were growing up learned a lot from our parents. So your kids can learn from their parents, and hopefully they have learned the right thing. But when you watch kids like your grandparents now, so if you see the people who are now grandparents, and they have no say in how the children are being brought up. So that always bothers me, because the society says you brought up your kids, now you don't have to interrupt or say anything about how your children are bringing up the children. So I see in my experience with what I've watched, how grandparents get very frustrated, very, very frustrated, because they see something wrong and they cannot say anything because it breaks up the family. So I don't know what the answer is to that. When I talk about family, it's the family like we grew up with. But I've seen grandparents who are very upset with how their children are bringing up their children. And of course, the general consensus is don't interfere.
Right. So this is not only a generation gap, but this is a generation loss. We are losing generations, and it's not just a generation gap, it's losing generations. After second generation, third generation, there will be total assimilation, total loss. We came here particularly for our own comfort and maybe economic reasons also. Yes, maybe comfort and economic reasons for the most important. There are other reasons also, and ultimately we lost the generations. This is very, a very cruel aspect of it, very painful aspect of it. We have enjoyed our life, but what we at what cost is also to be seen. And you are also right that we are holding these seminars or these discussions when we can do little. The young people are not coming forward. Yesterday also I was discussing with the Mariam Islamic Center, and perhaps now they've agreed at least, but I don't know whether they'll do it, that they will start it at say 11 o'clock, and I volunteered myself that we have these young people on every Sunday at the center, but I don't know whether it will succeed or not. You are right that we don't have a young audience.
Justice Shahzadu, I would like to add another aspect of children. Although we worry about our children and grandchildren doing this way or that way, but there's also another process that goes on, that we as seniors and older and grandparents, whatever, we are blind to that. We don't see that. The psychology is people follow those whom they love, they trust, and find them to be credible. And if somebody is not listening to somebody, is because whatever is being said is not trustworthy. I think, if the children are behaving a certain way, and we say we used to have a good days in our time, these things never used to happen. But the children are not obeying their parents. And if they're not obeying the parents, The responsibility lies on the parents because they are more mature, more experienced, more knowledgeable. So what happened that they failed to establish the credibility in the eyes of children for them. This is one very important aspect that, we say, children don't listen. Listening to the parents doesn't mean the children are bad. Maybe, children don't want to listen because there is a double standards being practiced by the parents, which parents do not see as something wrong with it. And, if you go back to our Muslim culture, Islamic Muslim countries, you find that everything what we do in our life, in our society, at every stratum of society, there's a double standard. So now when those people come here and the children, we produce children here and grandchildren, so they see a difference in the culture, they find that there's a more double standard there than compared to here. There's more sophistication here, of course. We have got crooks here and we have got crooks there. But generally speaking, the existence of double standards, we have put a blinder to our own double standards, and then we worry about where our generation is going. This is just one item I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this addition. This is important, and I had also submitted that people learn, and lasting learning experiences depend on observation, not on sermons, not on khutbahs only, not on speeches only, not on verbal orations. Exactly. But they learn by observation, and in another slide I have shown that it depends upon the trust, upon the even bond between the parent and the child. Stronger the bond, and then they learn more from the parents. And how the parents care for them, love, depending upon that level of love, the children learn from their parents by observation, through observation. Very important observation you have made. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we close, Justice Shahzadu, I have to make a very, very important comment. But I'm talking about grandchildren. So what my husband has done is that he has Zoom classes with the grandchildren, and they are of different ages. So he talks to 2 different age groups, and he talks about critical thinking, how to be a good human being. And because the parents do not have time to teach them all this, of course, they learn from example. But it is so surprising that, kids, they pick up all this from the grandparent and they understand it, because that was something that Allah, kind of interested me, that they do understand when you explain to them in their language, which is, what it's different from what we have been taught, but you come down to their level and talk to them. And we see that they are learning and they understand. And if he gives them homework, when they come back, then it's more surprising that they have learned a lesson and they are able to do the homework. So I just thought I'll let you know that this is something that Pasha adopted and it's working very well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very good idea. It should be spread around. We should spread it around, and people should know that you have in fact created a new model of virtual joint family. We have lost the benefits of joint family. We have lost the benefits of grandparents living together. And this is a good model which you have initiated. It's a new idea, a genius idea, that now you have created a virtual joint family. In one of the presentations, if you kindly recall, I had shown the Japanese model where 3 generations live under one roof: grandparents, parents, and the children, and in some cases even 4. So there are benefits of joint family, wisdom, joint family traditions, culture, passing on from generation to generation. So this is virtual, digital, online joint family system which you have originated. I think this should be popularized. This is a very important information which you have given. I think when we start next time, in the beginning, if you can tell something more about it, it will be to the benefit of everybody. I am very thankful to you for explaining this. Excellent.
Thank you.